Hi, everyone, and welcome back to That Eurovision site. I'm Helen.
I'm Euan.
And today we are going to be talking about the national final heats that took place over the weekend of January 12th through 14th. So we're going to be talking about Eesti Laul semifinals 1 and 2, and we're also going to be talking about Malta's first quarterfinal. And of course, we are going to be talking about I think, is it semifinal? Is it heat? The first round of Norway's Melodi Grand Prix. Um, as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We have a ton more content, including a separate video on Belgium's Euro song that will be up shortly, or may already be up by the time you're watching this. Um, so, yeah. Ewan, how did you find this weekend overall in terms of performances? What did you think?
It was, I found it quite contrasting. Because going into it, I was expecting great things from Norway, okay things from Estonia, and bad things from Malta, but ended up great things from Estonia, okay things from Malta, and horrified by Norway. So it's like I really wasn't expecting um what we got. So it's like I was quite happy at the unpredictability of it. But yeah, I do have quite the opinions. What about yourself?
I think I think I'm the same in terms of contrasting, but I think almost the opposite. I thought I did watch Melody Grand Prix and MESC in full. I was doing live tweeting duties for MESC. You can go check out all of everybody's thoughts on all of the shows this weekend over on our Twitter. In terms of MESC, I was quite underwhelmed, and then I think Melody Grand Prix just in general put on a good show. I think the right people qualified. I missed Eesti Laul live, but I've gone back and taken a look at the performances that qualified, and there were a few that really stood out to me there. So since it came first and last, I guess, time-wise, let's dive into Eesti Laul. I'm just going to pull up our results. So from semifinal one, we had 10 participants, and the four qualifiers out of the first round of voting, which was jury and televote, were Ollie with Venom, Andreas with Why Do You Love Me, Bedwetters with Monsters, and Annette and Freddie with You Need to Move On. The second round televote qualifier was Yannick with House of Glass. And we did have a wild card from this round, Mia with, I'm going to butcher this, Uksam Koraga. And then in semifinal two, we had Inger with Awaiting You. We had Milik with To You, Sissy with Lighthouse, and Alika with Bridges out of round one. And then we had our televote qualifier and Else with So Good, parentheses, What You Do, end parentheses. And then the wild card from this round was Elisa with Bad Philosophy. So, Ewan, who was your standout from Eesti Laul?
I think my standout, and I said this the in the SDLR video we did. This is my favorite, but for me, it's Yannick, House of Glass. That performance was just there was so much polish. Vocally, it was good, and just talking about like SDL in general. Although I don't think it's at the same quality as it was a few years ago, it has definitely improved in the last couple of years, and I just think their whole production is just very it's got a lot more sleek, and I think that coupled with the great vocals just really made it such an amazing performance, and I'm extremely happy that he managed to qualify from semi-final one. And to be honest, of the four qualifiers from the first round, I think everyone that did qualify was a rightful deserved winner. Maybe not so much in the second in the wild card. I would have probably picked Tokimeki instead of
I think it was Mia out of the first round. out of the
I
first
was gonna
three.
say like, do I try and say Uksama Koraga?
I think so.
Um,
I think that's how she pronounced it.
but even then, I wouldn't say that that's an unjustified qualifier. Like, so I think from semi-final one, Estonia has picked really good, picked really well, both on my personal opinion of what I like, but also the polish. I think the big surprise obviously is like Ollie's Venom. Like, I think a lot of people did expect it to do well, but I mean, it's just blown up, and like how many people are streaming it, and it's just like so that's also probably another standout one. But I think for a different reason to Yannick's House of Glass.
Yeah. I think for me, I actually really liked Inger's performance. I think they were, you could just tell they were so excited to be there. I think it was really dynamic. I believe they were getting the crowd involved. Vocally, I don't think it was the greatest, but I think the energy kind of made up for it. I'm with you on Ollie with Venom. I think I was one of the criteria for me when I'm watching these national finals is thinking of how this could potentially look on the Eurovision stage when we get to Liverpool. And a lot of these national finals, at least at the moment when they're in their preliminary heats, are in a lot smaller settings. Ollie, I think, is someone who could really bring in a whole arena to life with that song. Um, I think who else was there? I thought Alika was good with Bridges. I think that was probably one of the better ballads I think that we've gotten. Um, and I don't want to be too negative, but for all of the visual things that were going on with Bedwetters and Monsters, I just felt like they felt a bit bored on
Yeah,
stage. I wasn't
I got that.
Yeah, I as soon as he came in on the hoverboard, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like I expect like, if you're gonna do like a big theatrical costume, I expect you to really lean into it. Look at like Lordy, look at like whether you loved or hated Subwoofer, they were certainly committed to the bit. So, and I just felt like they were just kind of there. I feel like the costumes didn't really add much. So we'll see if that's something that they can improve going into the final. I imagine the final will be on a larger stage in a larger setting. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's like three or four I think that would be pretty good options that I would be okay with winning. Again, we'll just have to see how it is on the night. But I mean, I was pretty impressed. I was surprised that I mean, I liked Mia's song, but I'm a sucker for a piano, so that's me. I was surprised that that didn't do better in the voting. I'm surprised that was only a wild card. I think I probably would have preferred her as a qualifier to someone like Andreas. Probably, I that performance didn't really catch me. Um, yeah, so we'll see how it goes on the night, and we'll see like how I feel about this running order when we're everything's all in one show as opposed to being separated over a couple different nights.
Mhm.
Um,
I
yeah,
think I do kind of agree with you with Mia, although with that semi-final, like it was so stacked
it
in
really
the second
was.
half. So I think if the running order were different, I think Mia may have qualified from the first round. Um,
Yeah,
but
I think the initial.
going Venom to Why Do You Love Me to Monsters to You Need to Move On. It was a very heavy four songs, and
Mhm.
I think that's why they sort of overshadowed everything that came previous.
Yeah, it's very, very like ESC semifinal to what was it, 2019, where like the entire back half qualified.
What I was incredibly surprised with though, Carlos Ocareda, like I pegged this as the one that I thought was going to win. So Steve's not even qualify, just really did shock me. Also Cece's Lighthouse, I was very hesitant before. But yeah, that the live performance really did elevate it. So now I'm sort of kind of seeing what people are saying, like this is Cece's year. So I do
Hmm.
think it's going to be a very a very hard to guess final. And I feel like this could be something that's very votes all over the place, and there's just going to be someone scraping through for a win that maybe we're not going to be expecting, just because it's a really good, high quality final that we're going to end up having.
Mm-hmm. And is that one of the February 11th ones? I think it might be. Oh boy. Uh, pray for all the Euro fans in your life on February 11th.
Also,
Oh,
pray for their internet connections.
oh my God. And
It's
their
what,
browser specifically.
9 now?
We have seven finals where we're gonna get 7 Eurovision songs out of this, and I think 2 more heats.
Yeah, plus the 7 plus Sweden and Lithuania.
Yes. Thank you, Lithuania, for like going a week afterward. Like I wonder, they're probably aware no one's watching them that week, unfortunately. And Sweden can afford to like,
They can just do
have
whatever
all
they
that.
want.
I don't think that's the week Loren's performing. I want to say that's Heat 3
Uh,
or Heat 2. It's gonna be quite early on.
I think she's Heat 2.
I thought she was Heat
Otherwise, they're just
4. Eh.
I'm not following Belfast.
We'll watch it afterward. That's like my
Oh no,
philosophy. Like,
just watch it all in one go and just be completely overwhelmed and then forget every single song.
yep. And this is partly why I hadn't been a national final person like for a while. Just find your favorite Eurovision podcast, us or whoever, all of them, and then listen to them afterward. Save you some time. Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to see what Estonia does on the night again, and because it's going to be in a bigger venue, most
Mhm.
likely. I think the more intimate vibe worked well for some songs and not others. Some songs I felt like really should be played to more of a bigger venue. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think the ones that are going to be elevated, Alika's Bridges, I feel in a bigger arena, well, not even a big arena, like a bigger presence, it would just stand out so much more. Also, I think Ollie's Venom, which I know is obviously really big and how big, like how big it's been, but like in something bigger and more focused on it, I feel it's just going to be light up the arena.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like in a bigger arena, the crowd is going to be more encouraged to be like really get into it. I feel like it's harder to do that in a smaller venue. Oh
yeah.
well, in
I think
in a
like
more sparse
yeah,
venue.
yeah, like the ballads are going to be amplified because you've got the fact that they're one person singing by themselves is just going to be amplified. But the big loud songs are also going to be amplified because it's a big loud song in a big loud arena.
Yeah. Let's hope some of the acts bring a bit more energy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Because
going
it
to name
like
names.
I do expect a lot more from Bedwetters. Like it did need just more. I think I say this um in every single video or podcast. It just needs more oomph.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm just like, I wonder if they were just like there. I mean, they did their job, they qualified, and now maybe they'll feel like a bit more comfortable to like just go for it. Um, yeah, I feel like for some countries and for some entries in Eurovision, that is getting to the grand final is the victory.
Yeah.
And then they can really just like celebrate. Although, ooh, we'll see what happens this year with the rule of keeping in mind that we won't have juries in the semifinals either
Mm.
now. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Oh, I will also be discussing that with regards to the Norwegian results from that
All
night.
right.
Um,
All right. So let's move along chronologically to Malta and the first quarterfinal of Malta Eurovision Song Contest. We had, I think, 13, I want to say, contestants. Yes. So we had 13 artists and songs. And, well, we actually don't have any results for this one. Which is something that we found out more or less during the broadcast. So basically, the format here was we had each artist came up and sang their song. We had like a interview that maybe went on for a bit too long before and after performances. And It's very sparse. It was more like an audition, I would say, the vibe. But in any case, I think the reasoning behind that was um, to kind of assess the songs without any frills, any like big, you know, I don't know if distraction is the right word, but um, yeah, it was interesting. It was certainly an interesting evening to watch, but we had in lieu of qualifiers, I'll say we had quite a few returning artists. Fabrizio Fanello, who's represented Malta twice, was back. Aiden, of course, was back from last year. And we also had Eliana Gomez Blanco, who was Malta's junior representative in 2019. Um, yeah. Uh, oh, sorry, I just accidentally opened something. Um, what what do you think of the crop thus far for Malta? Who is your standout?
Um, for me, the standout, and like it's my standout for so many years, it's Klinsmann, Piranha. Like it was a good closer as like the last song. Because I'm going to be honest, they only have two. As Malta only has two options from this heat for things that are going to qualify. I can't speak for the other heats. I've not listened to those songs yet. But realistically, Piranha or Regina are the only songs with a chance that I would say would have a chance of actually qualifying at Eurovision. So for me, that standout is really good because Klinsmann does have like a great voice, and the same with Ethan. Sorry, I know I'm saying what was the standout, Mike, but I've done two. But yeah, I think they're probably the best in that heat. Yeah. Oh, sorry, what was I say? I really like the whole strip back focus and
Mhm.
just like focus just on the act, just on the music. Because I feel like if you're going to have heat semi-final final, there needs to be something different. Just having the same constantly is just it's viewers get dull. Sorry, viewers get dull to the performance. So focusing like going for the songs and then giving some spectacle later on, I think it's a good way to do it. Can't believe I'm praising MESC for once. Although what I will say is a 24-person national fight, sorry, a 24-person semi-final is way too ridiculously big. 13 songs is good for semi-final. Like so, sorry, it is good for a heat. So I might have a 12-person semi-final. Um, it would have been better, but at least that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I will agree. I think that for me, I think the clear best one probably from the semifinal was Aiden. I think of everybody, and this may be because he, had just come off such a big success last year. He seems just very polished. Very is a it was a memorable song. I feel mean for saying this, but there were not a lot of memorable songs that came out of this heat, unfortunately. Um, I will say I think Eliana's song, although it might be a bit I think it's still a bit too junior for the main contest. I think this runs into a bit of the word that I had or would have had with Supergirl from Greece in 2020. I think
Mm.
yeah, so it's not necessarily as kiddie, but it's still very junior-ish. Although I will say I think the package was overall like very cohesive. I remembered it, so there's that. I think maybe like I don't think it'll be her time this year, but I think maybe a few years down the line, I think she could be a good choice for Malta. I am someone who really appreciates both of Destiny's entries, but especially Jamakas, and was just gutted for her that she didn't get the public vote that she deserved. But that's me. um, but yeah, I mean, my issue overall, I think, with the show had to do a lot with the pacing, and I know from people who have watched MESC in the past that the ads are just part of it. And so that I was prepared for. But I think it was going from very long interview into pre-recorded package, into more interview, into postcard in a party room to perform. It was about like, I want to say like 10, 12 minutes per performer. And it was a show that ran for over 2.5 hours for 13 songs. And we'll get to Norway in a bit, but I think this maybe played into a bit of my like more appreciation for Norway's national final the next night, in terms of pacing. But I'd be interested to see what the next two heats hold, because I see potential in these songs. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the stripped back performance, or the stripped back setup. I mean, I get the appeal of wanting to really like focus in on the song and the performance and the ability of the performer to deliver it without any frills, any flashes, or anything like that. But I think that worked well for some songs and not so much for others. Like, I think, was it Maria, who had De Alegria? I think that that's something that will work better on a more produced setting. So I hope that makes it through. And I think Aiden went up there like ready to do like a full, you know, you know, full production performance, and it just looked a little bit awkward on like the stand there and sing performances. I think worked a bit better in this setting, and hopefully that will allow some songs that maybe wouldn't get through in a normal year to actually get through. So I'm interested to see what the semifinal looks like, because I feel like that'll be a bit closer to the finished product that we'll see in not Turin, in Liverpool. No more Black Sun of Death.
I think this another factor with where I personally think the stripped back performances is good. There's no guarantee that any of these songs are going to Liverpool. Like, they will pick the act, but that's not a guarantee that that song's going. Like in a lot of other national finals, especially now that we do have precedent with last year, 2016. So having that, it's almost audition like feature, like to focus on the act vocals and things like that. Because there's no guarantee that just because they like say TikTok or Try to Be Better, that that's going to necessarily be in Liverpool. So like, but if they really like Haley or Fabrizio Faniello, like I'm just taking these ones as example, and they like their voices, they're still gonna at least have like they're gonna be voting for the voices as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that, but also I feel like kind of the disappointment of it makes from my standpoint, it makes it a bit hard to get invested, especially when there's more precedent for this final than I think for a lot of other national finals, where what you see in the national final is not necessarily what you're going to get in Liverpool. That's just kind of where I'm at. That being said, I feel like Aiden in particular, I feel like is really invested in his song. So I feel like he's someone who would really be committed to bringing that to Liverpool. So we'll see. I feel like the general feeling I'm getting is I feel like most people are kind of like, this is his time. But we'll see what happens with the next two shows. Not next three shows, next two shows. Because despite being called quarterfinals, we're only getting three. Which makes my job updating the calendar a bit of a nightmare. So TVM, can you at least put the show on your broadcast schedule like before the day it airs? That would be really super nice. I would love that. It makes me, I can plan my day. Anyways, yeah, and I don't think Malta's ever done anything before a semifinal, at least not recently. So this is new territory for TVM, I feel like. So I think I wouldn't be mad at them doing like maybe quarterfinals next year, but I feel like there's some tweaks that need to happen, maybe just in terms of like a viewing experience. Like I don't think we need to be talking to the artist for ages and ages and ages beforehand. I feel like maybe that's content that could go like on their YouTube channel or something. Um, and maybe not take 2.5 hours for no results. I should clarify, I believe after all 3 shows have aired, the public will vote, I think starting on February 3rd. And then I think we'll get the results like right before the semifinal. Although who knows? So much has changed of what we know of MESC over the last few days. So we'll see what happens. But yes, the general understanding is that we won't know the 8 qualifiers from each quarterfinal until like 3 weeks from now, at least, something like that.
Do you have thoughts on who you think will qualify?
I think Aiden's through. I think Eliana will go through. I think that's one of the more memorable performances. I think Klinsmann will go through as well. I think that was a strong show closer. I hope Maria makes it through. And as for the other 4, I feel like it's kind of up in the air. It really could go anywhere. And it'll be interesting for this one as well, because this will have been the longest ago. This won't be the most recent one. So I'm wondering if people will gravitate more towards the names they know. I'm curious to see what happens with that.
Because Malta is heavily focused on the name as well. Like it doesn't matter how good all the other songs are.
Yeah.
If you've got the big name, you're going to qualify. That's why I really think that likes of Fabrizio Fanello
I think Fabrizio's
through. Didn't even need to sing the song and he'd be through.
Yeah. So we'll see. But also I feel like maybe like 24 might be too much for a semifinal. Or maybe have 2 semifinals.
24 or plus songs final for a good few years. That was an endurance.
Yep. Well, we'll see. And now we'll move on to the final heat that took place over the weekend. That is, of course, Norway's Melodi Grand Prix. Always one of the bigger events, although more condensed from its versions in previous years. We are done with duels, and we are down to 3 semifinals as opposed to 4, and we have 7 artists in each. I think this weekend was probably the most stacked in terms of name recognition. We've had already 3 former Eurovision representatives in this semifinal. But just to recap, we had 7, and our 3 qualifiers from semifinal 1 are Alessandra with Queen of Kings, we have Umami Tsunami with Geronimo, and we have Ulrika with Honestly. Many of you will remember that Ulrika won in 2020, but of course, unfortunately, could not sing on the Eurovision stage, so she is back for another round. Euan, I feel like you have some thoughts on this.
MGP used to be one of the best national finals, both in terms of song quality, production value, and just general fun. It just for me, it feels like it's taken such a step back on all of those criteria. The 3 qualifying songs, honestly, I don't think any of them deserve to be in the final. I also honestly really think they will struggle to qualify in Liverpool, especially under 100% televote system. Honestly, a couple of these songs felt like a caricature of what a Eurovision song is. There's 2 songs in this selection show, Wave by Erik Knes and Talari Paradis by Kate Gulbrandsen. are the only two that I felt were worth listening to, worth qualifying. I understand why they didn't qualify. I didn't expect them to, but I'm extremely disappointed, and I really, really hope the next heats are better. I know we have songs for Heat 2, but I've not listened to those yet. I've sort of only
Either.
listened to the Heat 1 songs, but it's just not good. And
Okay.
I hate to be really critical, but like, yeah,
No, that's entirely fair. I wouldn't say I loved it. And like I say, I think watching in terms of like the pacing and like the structure of the show itself, I think watching Malta the night before gave me a real appreciation for just clipping along at a good pace. So that's part of it, I think. Um, but overall, I didn't think there was like as I was watching, I feel like I mean, coming into the show, I feel like Ulrika qualifying was a no-brainer. It's the name recognition. She's doing a very similar song to what she sent in was in 2020, the year that shall not be named. Um, and I think I agree with you. I really appreciated seeing Kate Gulbrandsen there. I didn't think it was necessarily going to qualify given just the field. But I thought she did a really lovely job. And I mean, I love seeing like, I feel like I worry sometimes that like Eurovision has kind of like started not to appreciate what has come before, or maybe like new fans, because there's an influx of new younger fans coming in, especially this past decade. And so it's nice to really see like countries like Norway and Italy and Sweden in the past, like really showing appreciation for their artists that have gone to Eurovision in the 80s, 90s. I mean, it was so like Gianni Morandi coming third in Sanremo last year was just such a joy, um, and something that you wouldn't expect. But that's a different topic for another day. But I appreciated seeing her there. I was really disappointed in Joust Century. I quite liked Grab the Moment. I mean, it's a chorus that gets stuck in your head. I don't know. It just didn't click for me.
it's just such a contrast from Grab the Moment, because Grab the Moment
It
is
really
one of
is.
the most probably the most polished radio friendly song of 2017. Sorry, I know I'm prone to
Yeah.
hyperbole, but Freaky for the Weekend, it's again, I don't want to be super overly critical, but it felt like one of those songs you get in a TV show, a TV sitcom that they just made for like a joke song, for
Yeah,
something. It didn't.
unfortunately.
It like I don't understand why it was here. It definitely wasn't going to qualify, so I don't know what MGP were thinking, so what NRK were thinking, because they get a good amount of submissions. I don't understand how Freaky for the Weekend was among the best.
I mean, I think there is an audience for it. It's just not me.
But I think
Um,
that the ones that are wanting that sort of like fun, happy, like something that Tresco, while I don't think it's an amazing song, I think it was at least it was listenable, and I feel
yeah,
it achieved that better.
yeah. I did think I thought Alessandro of any of these songs, I thought that was a strong opener. And I wasn't surprised that she and Ulrika qualified. I wouldn't be surprised to see them top, like when the results actually come out, to see if they like them being like top two probably from this.
Mhm.
And I thought it was gonna be them two, and then third was kind of like a toss up. Um, I mean, there is an audience for Umami Tsunami, clearly. My thought watching them was Norway has discovered K-pop. Uh,
It's a very strange song. It could be it's also like aggressively Gen Z, but also aggressively like 2003. It's so odd. Like it's this contrast between like very early 2000s American
the
boy band
20
and
the 20-year
K-pop.
cycle is doing the
It's
rounds.
so strange. I feel like that one could be revamped and could be better. So I kind of do hope at least even just the performance. So I kind of hope that one gets better. That one I say is the best of the three qualifiers.
Yeah, I
Um,
think there's definitely some more like polish that needs to go into it, but I see some potential in there, and there's certainly an audience for it. I'm sure they're huge on TikTok. I'm 27. I'm old. I can't bother. Um, oh God, who else? Oh, Eric Ness. I felt bad because I was just like, this is not a bad song, but in this semifinal, I feel like the kind of country western tinge, it was probably going to get lost. And
it's
unfortunately,
not a
it
song.
did.
It's not a song that can qualify it from second.
No, no. Which is sweet. I mean, I feel bad because he looked very very into the performance. I suppose we should also mention. I've just remembered that NRK are allowing auto tune at MGP this year, which I have thoughts on. Um, I'm still getting my head around it. I'm very very mixed, but I mean, I guess going back to Joust, even like I've been thinking about doing some sort of video about like here's how like what Eurovision was like progressed in like the 2010s and like picking songs from each year that symbolize something. And his entry in 2017 for me would have been like that's where the whole thing with the backing vocals really started. Because I feel like people talk about 2020, but like the seed had already been planted even pre-pandemic, because there was the whole thing about the pre-recorded
The Looper.
yeah, and then of course Netta won the next year with
Yeah,
the
but the Netta wasn't allowed to use the Looper, which is a very odd decision. Because if you listen to the performance, there's no actual. It's all live vocals in that,
yeah.
which but it's really odd that they let Grab the Moment do it and then reverted back.
Yeah, I think that was like a I think they said at the time it was probably going to be a one-off,
Mm.
but still it's very much like the small like the seed is planted and now we are in like full on backing vocals. And I'm someone who I'm like, I'm okay with the backing vocals so long as it's not like overwhelming the lead singer. I still want this to be all about like a live contest, but that's a debate for another day. um
Like it feels like the intent from NRK was not let's correct the vocals of a bad singer. It's let's give artists opportunity to like have different styles and how
mhm.
other artists do it. But I don't feel, and I'm just talking from Heat One. It feels that it was more used in the correction of bad vocals than in the promoting different styles. Um,
Yeah,
and I don't feel that it's going to do. I really hope this experiment doesn't stick because I'm very anti any pre-recorded vocals.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I wonder if they would have said something. Maybe it's a song that we haven't heard yet that really makes more use of like auto tune as more of an instrument, like an effect. Is that
Mm.
I think I'm more okay with if that's something that's used. But yeah, like something like Grab the Moment, where it's like clearly it's kind of an instrument in its own right. Um, but I'm surprised Joust didn't do more of it, because I thought like, oh, if they're bringing it in for someone, it's probably their performance, just given their history with it. Eh. But yeah, I think just overall, I felt like it was a really positive vibe throughout the show. It was nice to hear like, I'm glad that one of these bigger shows is back because it's like more of an event. Um, it's also the part where I just like I appreciate not watching TV that's how do I say this? I appreciate watching TV that's not in English, honestly. It's kind of a refresher. Like I don't need to know everything that's going on, or I can just get it from just in general. It's something I appreciate. It's something that I feel like Americans especially should do more of. I think that's about it. In terms of what's coming up this weekend, we don't have any finals to speak of. That's not to say we may not get an internal selection here or there, but we have Malta round 2, we have Norway round 2, and we have Lithuania round 1. So that will be interesting to see. Obviously, we will be covering it from all angles. We have interviews with so many of the artists, and we will be live tweeting. We've got the articles coming up. We've got you covered from all angles, as I say. Yeah, so we'll see what this season brings. We're fully in it now, aren't we? I'm just like looking at my calendar.
This is probably the last quiet week we'll have for like a recap video until the weekend of Tobias Europa. Like this is going to be full on.
I was gonna say, like, we've got this upcoming week, and then I think the week after is Benidorm. So get ready, everybody. Hold on. I was about to quote Rafal there, but I'm not going to.
No, go ahead. Quote the rightful winner of 2021.
Oh, you and my husband get along so well. Hold on for the ride of your life. Oh man, we're in it. I'm just like, get the coffee ready. Best of luck to whoever has to do the San Remo final. You will be up until 2 in the morning. Yeah. So thanks so much for joining me this week. It's been great. It really has.
Lovely to be back on this show.
Yeah, and it's lovely for me to be back too. It's been a minute. So yeah, make sure to follow us on all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's all That Euro site. You can listen to our podcast, That Eurovision podcast, on all of the platforms of your choice. And of course, subscribe here, That Eurovision site on YouTube, to see all of the content that we've got coming for you. And we have got so much coming. Yeah, thanks you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.